I would say as far as consistency over everything that I've seen throughout 2021, for me, Suggest is the first person that comes to mind. This guy, I mean, I already touted his headshot percentage. It's been that way throughout all of 2021. He's always been near the top. It's kind of like he and Stacks have really been fighting for it. Like there are players in the region that have technically beaten them for headshot percentage, but those are teams that fell out of the tournament, so they have fewer maps played. So I just kind of, discredit that at this point.
So we're going to start off, of course, talking about a little bit what's happening in the Korean region. And to do so, we're going to bring back a longtime friend of the show and friend of ours, of course. It is going to be Seth Achilios, King, here at probably some ungodly hour of the night in South Korea, to talk to us a little bit about what's happening over there. What's up, Seth? Congratulations, of course, on your involvement in Masters, man. It's going to be good.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Looking forward to doing that event. But yeah, it's great. Also, what a way to lead into bringing me onto the stream. Talking events, it's just Italian workouts on Twitch. Like this. Okay.
It's 800 plus viewers. I'm getting 25. I'm getting absolutely rinsed. And I'm like 4th highest in that category. But this is the competition,
Get some tighter shorts on, Mitch. Maybe get a Speedo. Go for the banana hammock, whatever you got to do. Pump those numbers up, boy. But yeah, I'm ready to talk about some good old Korean Valorant, because I still, even though I came on here before, talked about how you can't disrespect this region, you can't count them out. Like, people are still doing just exactly that. So let's fucking talk about it.
Okay, so when we chatted to you last time, obviously you had a lot of good things to say, not only about Vision Strikers at the time, but also NuTurn. But I mean, we're going to start by talking about what happened in this sort of last challenges bracket, because for those that are pretty uninitiated, like a lot of people probably just expect to see that, Vision Strikers go through pretty comfortably. They have this huge win streak, only to be taken down by NuTurn in the semifinals. Like not one, but 2 steps away from actually making it to Masters, like they're supposed to all along.
Yeah, it seemed like it was fate. I mean, these guys have been rivals since the beginning of 2021. NuTurn has always been the team to get the closest to taking them down. And then as soon as I saw that group draw for the final stretch of the tournament, and I saw that they were going to be basically, meeting in the semifinals, because there was no way the NuTurn was going to lose their first match. There's no other way the Vision Strikers was going to lose the TNL. TNL has yet to take a map off of them ever on stage or on stream. So that was in the bag. So I was like, this is going to be the rematch. I think this is going to be the time that NuTurn actually takes it. And they beat Vision Strikers so hard that Glow had to retire because of it. It was
a veteran, by the way, absolute veteran of esports in Korea, like one of the most storied FPS players in the entire country.
Yep.
Just pieced out. Is that a big blow to the scene, do you think?
I think it is, but taking a look at like some of the weaknesses that I saw on the side of Vision Strikers, unfortunately, I would kind of point a lot of it at Glow, just because he is the in-game leader, he is the veteran. He wasn't performing on an individual level in the the final few matches the Vision Strikers had played. When they really started to look shaky, it seemed like they were kind of losing themselves in the matches and kind of had lost direction. So I think this is still going to be a major blow to them, but I think that if they can find a good fit for this team, or even just bring in somebody else that's a really good, lurk player, Omen, Astra, and then have somebody like Stacks, who seems to have just a phenomenal game sense, maybe take over that IGL position, I think that they still can bounce back in a really big way.
But when we actually talk about Vision Strikers, or just the Korean scene in general, we were talking about VS and NuTurn in 2021, but like, isn't it like early 2021 where like F4Q also ended their streak of Vision Strikers? What's the competition like for the rest of Korea so far? How come we haven't seen F4Q in the playoff bracket? And how's Dam1? How's the rest of the team so far, or the rest of the scene so far?
I mean, it seems like F4Q just kind of had like a flash in the pan moment, getting that first victory over Vision Strikers and ending the streak and whatnot. They had a solid little bounce back performance, F4Q rather, to try and take down Dam1 Gaming. I actually thought that they had that in the bag. I thought we were going to be seeing a Rio company versus F4Q semifinal, but Dam1 has actually leveled up their performance immensely. They went from being one of the better teams, if you go all the way back to First Strike, they were on Dark Horse, and I thought that they were maybe the only team in the region at that time that could have beaten Vision Strikers, or at least taken maps off them. Unfortunately, didn't get to see that final. Got eliminated a little bit early. They had some slip ups in their play. But they still look like a really promising team. You come into 2021, they looked really, really rough. They weren't performing at the level that you would expect from a team that has Damwon, Kia backing them as the
Mhm.
lead sponsor. So it was really weird to see their performance, but they finally kind of got back into their stride by the end of it. They get the 2-1 over F4Q, 2-1 over Rio, who in my mind was the third best team in the
Mhm.
region, with a potential to move into that second spot, given that Vision Strikers was slipping up. Obviously, F's in the chat for Rio Company as well. Given what's been going on with them, there's a lot of roster shakeups
I was
happening.
gonna say they've been
But
roster shaking too. That's pretty crazy.
yeah, I mean, a lot of departures. They're retaining Buzz, who a lot of people would say is their best player. For me, I would have said Intro. I was chatting him up last time, but yeah, I do think that overall the level of play has increased a lot. Though NuTurn were clearly the best team in the region by the end of it. Though their playoff run has just been immaculate. Their entire run throughout all of Stage 2, they haven't dropped a single map. So I think they're on a 17 map win streak. Those
Mhm.
first 3 series you can kind of disregard because they were against weaker teams. I think they might
Yeah.
have played against like I Need Girlfriend or or something to that effect. So they were
Dope
playing against
name.
some pub teams. They played against Food Eat, Team Sacrifice, our finale story, and then from there they got into the actual real teams with Autocracy. Then they beat Damwon, they beat Prince, they beat Vision Strikers, they beat Damwon again. So they haven't
GNG.
dropped a map in a really, really long time. And they've just been looking clean. Everything about NuTurn right now is just close to flawless in the Korean region.
Uh, I have a hot take. Well, maybe a hot take.
Lay it
Because
on
you,
me.
because last time we had you on the show, you're like, hey, people are underestimating Korea and stuff like that too. I've been watching a bit of NuTurn for the past 2 days. I haven't gone deeper yet into the map pool. I've only watched their, I think their ascent and their bind so far, and I have to watch some
Sure.
more. But when you look back at NuTurn and how they played in those Korean qualifiers to make it into Iceland, 2 of those maps actually they were still using a older meta, right? They're still keeping the breach, they're still keeping an
Yeah.
omen in there, they're still going with the raised jet. Don't you think that that's going to fall a bit behind with how things have been developing over in Europe, for example, even North America?
Yeah. So, I mean, they still have been able to best, some of the teams that are experimenting with some of the newer tech, such as, Viper. Yours been coming up a bit in the Korean region, and they've been able to shut that stuff down by using nothing too shocking. But I know the caliber of these players. I know what they're capable of doing and their mechanical abilities and whatnot. So let alone aim, I know that they're going to be able to sync up when it comes down
Mm.
to pulling off some set plays. Whether you're bringing Viper out on Icebox or something to that effect, I know that they're going to be able to practice those and execute on them. So I think as long as they're getting good scrim time on the teams right now, which obviously we know that a lot of these teams are probably just waking up at 11 a.m. and then they're scrimming against each other probably until like 9 11 p.m, maybe just doing full 12-hour days. I think they're going to see what other teams are doing, and then they're going to look to potentially work some of that stuff in there if they find that it's going to be advantageous or better compared to what they have been running. But I think this is kind of a testament that just how good they are, that they didn't have to use anything that new to be able to take down all of these teams in Korea so easily. They're so mechanically gifted. You have players like Suggest, who's coming into Reykjavik with one of the highest headshot percentages.
Yep.
Everybody on this team can shoot incredibly well. You have Solo, who is another veteran player, same age, I think maybe even slightly older than Glow, who comes from the CS days here in Korea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
they
another
harken back
person
to
with
the
a
same teams, I think. Those
exactly.
two.
Yeah,
Yep.
so another very long storied career that, is well over a decade. And this guy's IGLing is fantastic. He's great at leveling out the players when they start getting shaken up. So if they start falling behind in rounds, he's really good at saying, it's okay, we can come back from this. We're playing this side, or they of course they won because they had rifles. Let's just focus up. Let's come back into it, and it's worked a treat for
Mm. I do
You-
So
wonder. Mhm.
I mean, we had a session question asked in chat. I'll probably just send it your way here
him. Okay,
because Pesto wants to know: do you reckon that okay, if we had something like this again, right? Whereas
sure.
North America, EU, and Brazil have 2 slots. Do you think that Korea should have had 2 as well? Because you guys have the kind of slightly painful task of narrowing your entire field down to just one team.
I mean, it definitely sucks to only have one slot, but I'm not that surprised by it, given that it's a tactical shooter. The history of tactical shooters in Korea, at least ones that are popular outside of Southeast Asia, um, hasn't been great. There's a couple of lands that Glow did appear at when he was playing in CS. I think he's at one of the early IEMs and whatnot, and they were able to make like a fourth top 4 finish or something at that. But I get the apprehension of wanting to allocate more slots to a region that is potentially going to be weaker because there's not as many people here. There's not as many eyes on it. The player base is just innately smaller because of just the size of the country and whatnot. I'm not too shocked by it. I think what I would like to have seen is Reykjavik's results impacting Masters 3, kind of like the same structure that Riot uses with MSI and getting extra team seeds for Worlds. We know that that's not the case. The amount of seeds are already set, I believe, for the rest of the year. I think Champions is set as well as Masters 3. I would have loved to have seen something like that. So if Korea did come in and they performed up into the top 4 or something like that, then give them that slot, because it will only the more slots you have, the more teams you have competing internationally against all of these other squads that have different play styles. It's only going to better the region, because those teams are going to come back and then they're going to start using what they learned against all the other teams in Korea, who then have to adapt to it, and then that'll just make them stronger, and it just stacks up that way. So I wish that was the case, but I get that it's not. But maybe that's something that can be corrected for 2022, or if Korea just comes in here and they just smash everybody, and they take first place, maybe Riot will be like, you know what, let's change the number of Korean slots that we have for Masters 3. We have to make a slight alteration to the plans here.
How likely
I guess
is
you
that?
can. Sorry, Mitch.
Probably unlikely that they do that.
You're not feeling like, if you had to say,
Oh, I thought you meant how likely for them to change the slots.
all right. Oh, well, on that, I can provide a little bit of insight. I know that although the slots have been set, as in they've been communicated what they're intended to be, Riot are like constantly looking at it and trying to like re-justify everything they're seeing. So I'm not saying that it will happen, but I'm saying that if, for example, a Korean team, a Brazilian team, something like that, completely surprised us and topped out the charts, I think there's a probability that they would shift it. Certainly coming towards the end of the year for champions, but it would have to be really, really proven. But no, in terms of like Korea coming in and dominating, like if we're putting them 1 through 10, where are you feeling NuTurn at right now?
So like I said, I think a lot of people have been sleeping on this, and I'm not gonna do the full region bias and say that they're gonna come in, they're gonna destroy, nobody stands a chance, they're gonna be number 1. I think that it is going to be a really tough road for them, but I do see one of the universes here in the multiverse. I do see a potential spot, or a few of them, where they could make that deep run and make it into the final, if not take the whole thing. But it is going to be really tough. I think it's really going to push Solo to his limits as far as leading this team to success. I know that they all individually are talented enough to go toe to toe with some of the best players out there from EU, from NA, from Brazil. It's more just about whether the cohesion is still going to be there, if these guys are going to crack under any sort of pressure playing internationally for the first time. And Solo has to be that rock for the squad. So I think that if he can keep level-headed, I think he'll be able to keep the rest of the team level-headed, and that's where they can find success. Right now, I'm thinking that they will probably end up middle of the pack, potentially with the semifinal appearance. That's what I'm thinking, but anything above that is obviously just absolutely wonderful.
Now there are probably a lot of people, I think, especially in the NA and EU regions, more so NA. I think you probably don't get the chance to sort of see these games, that want to know who to look out for, especially knowing sort of the kind of reputation that NuTurn's going to be coming to this tournament with. So, what would you say to people in terms of your sort of favorite individuals on this roster, the more exciting players to sort of keep an eye on throughout this tournament?
It's really hard to single out a single person when it comes down to this roster, because they all have just absolute pop-off moments. Allow being the Jet player, of course, you always know that somebody's just going to go out, they're gonna fucking smeeg with a Jet ult, and then all of a sudden they come up with a 5k with a Blade Storm. They clutch it or something in a 1v4. But I would say, as far as consistency over everything that I've seen throughout 2021, for me, Suggest is the first person that comes to mind. This guy, I mean, I already touted his headshot percentage. It's been that way throughout all of 2021. He's always been near the top. It's kind of like he and Stacks have really been fighting for it. Like there are players in the region that have technically beaten them for headshot percentage, but those are teams that fell out of the tournament, so they have fewer maps played. So I just kind of discredit that at this point. For them to be able to manage, I think it's 33% for Suggest and 37% for Stacks, given the amount of maps that they've played. It's just absolutely ludicrous. So I would say Suggest is my number one person to watch. If he's alive and it's a 1v3, it's so possible that he's going to be able to win that. I'd say it's almost like a coin flip that he takes it. His clutch potential is just absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
He was blowing us away every single time that he was left in a 1v3, sometimes even 1v4s, with his ability to either bring back the round or kill everybody and that spike goes off and they lose the round. But now everybody has to buy their weapons back. So he's great. And then Lakia has been the one who really recently has climbed up. His performance in that final was just absolutely astounding. He played like he has never played before.
Yeah, that's who I was going to mention too. Lakio is definitely the player to watch out for NuTurn in my eyes, because watching his matches, watching how the run went for NuTurn, all the way to Reykjavik has been phenomenal actually for Lakia. He's been kind of for me like how Zeta plays with Cloud9 on that Sova for North America. Funny enough that Zeta is coming from Korea to play, but he's not going to be that type of person that's going to be like the last person going in, kind of like a Hiko for 100 Thieves. He's actually going in and helping out the team at the same time as a support player. And I think that looks pretty good for them in terms of firepower for NuTurn. Overall, I think Perry too, maybe not as versed in terms of like his fragging ability, but I think he's a great support player playing those smokes. Like the amount of times he has hit gravity wells on reactionary plays coming in against his opponent, that also adds another plus to how good Korea is in terms of like hitting the abilities and landing abilities, because we also give them a lot of credibility on when it was that breach jet meta and they were hitting fault lines and fault lines and fault lines. I could still see that from Korea in different types of different compositions. I guess we see that now with Astra coming in on that map on the Senate I mentioned before. Looking at the bracket, obviously here, like we'll talk about it later on in the Masters preview, but now that we have you to talk about NuTurn, they're going head to head against Sharks here, and I think this would probably be a great test for NuTurn for the first time for them to maybe even get the first win. But then potentially here they're going to have to play Liquid. So if all the cards fall correctly, they fall correctly into place, they might play Liquid in this semifinals of the upper bracket. How do you think that's going to fare between Liquid here?
I mean, again, this is a really rough. That's kind of like the really big game where everybody has to be completely zoned in on it. They have to be operating at 110% to be able to take that. A lot of people are favoring Liquid to potentially take the entire tournament. But I think about Liquid in other esports and how often they choke internationally. So I'm thinking maybe they'll bleed over into Valorant. Obviously, like completely different game here, and I think that Liquid definitely deserve a lot of the hype that they have coming into this. So I think that they are going to be able to fare extremely well, and I think that is going to be a big test for NuTurn. I still think that they can go far in this, and it might have to be through a lower bracket run if Liquid defeats them there, because it seems like they should be able to do it, but you never know with Koreans when they get onto an international stage. Sometimes they will just completely and utterly shock you. So it could happen, but I would favor Liquid probably, just given history.
Awesome.
The only little thing I'd say, I want to pick up on that, on Liquid choking, at least if we're talking about Counter-Strike, they are a North American team there. So now they've got a year.
Sure. That's the big difference here, is this is EU. Or wide, it's often been a bit of
not going to happen this time. Not going to happen.
There's some Europeans on that.
Frequently more yellow tinged, to be fair. We see them on the international stage.
Oh, there's that. We got Jensen in the mid lane, so I'm saying European.
I actually have just one more question. What's Valorant been like in terms of its growth since it came out too, right? Since it first came out, the last time we spoke to you, into today, because my experience in Korea was like back in 2005 when I'm watching like Gunbound and StarCraft and shit on TV, and like you have pro players on commercials and stuff. Is Valorant being as embraced right now in terms of like that mainstream category, or is it still like StarCraft that's dominating the culture out there for esports?
Valorant is still very much trying to grow and move in a similar direction to StarCraft and League of Legends, and even PUBG for that matter, which is still an immensely played game out here in the region. I don't know how the viewership is as far as like the esports side of things is concerned for that, but it's still on the up and up. I think that Reykjavik, when NuTurn is playing, it's going to be the highest Korean viewership that we've ever seen for Valorant, period.
Awesome.
you know, I think I talked about this last time when I was on the show, when I was, you know, in a bar watching the Olympics, and how everybody paid attention when the Koreans were on. And it's going to be that when NuTurn is getting ready to play, all of the Koreans are going to want to tune in because they want to see, like, are we the best region or are we shit? What is it going to be? What's the result going to look like? How well can we do here? And then I think based on the results from Reykjavik, we will see an increase, or just, you know, the same viewership, you know, with some minor fluctuations going upward moving forward. I think that if NuTurn came out and they won this whole thing, I think that Valorant would absolutely explode
Oh yeah,
in
dude.
Korea compared to what we've been seeing.
Crazy.
It's been teetering right around the top 10 for PC bongs, but granted, not a very PC bong friendly game.
I was gonna say,
and
is
I
that
don't
better
have,
now, or is
I
it still an
don't
issue?
know. I haven't been to a PC bong since COVID started, so I have no fucking clue what's going on. But you know, and I also can't speak to what the at home numbers are. I don't know how many people are just playing on private PCs, but since COVID happened, so many more people have bought private PCs. So PC bongs are kind of dropping off because of, you know, both COVID, and because of COVID, everyone's buying their own computers. So they're like, well, fuck it, I'm not going to go spend money to play at a PC bong unless I'm drunk with my friends.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the player base looks like, but it seems like it's really good. I hop into games instantly, whether it's, you know, competitive, unranked, you know, any of the wild game modes that they have coming out. You know, people are playing the game, so it seems like it's doing pretty well. It's just about translating that into some increased viewership from the Korean side of things. So I think NuTurn smashing would be instrumental in the overall growth of it out here.
It's so fascinating because I don't think you could say this of any other country or region, that the team's performance internationally will actually dictate the popularity of the game in general in the country. Like, there's such a connection between the
Yeah.
esports, you know, the esports of the title and like the average player. Whereas in NA, like, the apathy is so great. Like, they could just dominate the entire world, and I don't necessarily know if that would garner more attention for that particular game. I think that's so interesting. I mean, I was there. Yeah, I was in Gyeonggi for IEM, and there's the lineups in the crowd were just, I just never seen anything like that in my life.
It's nuts.
It's wild. So
I mean,
we should all hope to see that.
it's been the culture out here for so very long. I mean, I think
Yeah.
back to the, you know, not the original OGN studio, but the one just before they moved into the Splex Center, where, like, you know, like Overwatch Apex had happened and all of that. People that it used to just be free. There's no tickets. It was just first come first serve, and people would camp out overnight. It's at the top of a mall. It's on top of the roof in a mall, and people would camp out overnight to be able to get in to watch the big games.
Battle
So if you
Royale off
had-
the roof.
Dude, I mean, if you had a telecom war, if you had KT Rolster going up against SKT, you know, people would wait there for like 36 hours just so they could be the first one in. They could sit up at the front. They get that front row look at, you know, at Faker, Piglet, Impact, you know, this whole original lineup, and you get ready for that match. Then they added tickets, and then there was scalpers, and things got significantly worse. But there was always still an audience there, and there was always going to be a sold out crowd all of the time. At least, you know, whether it was a middling match or a top tier, it was always going to be packed. When it comes to the finals, I mean, I know, Mitch, you've listened back to the Apex Season 2 final, Lunatic High versus Runaway. You hear that audio
at the start, and then that, oh yeah, dude, the last map, holy moly, man.
So
That's so sick.
they
just
camp out to get, like,
ingrained.
they camp out to get first row tickets just to put a sign in front of their face if a camera ever shines on them too.
There's some legitimate reasons for like when that has happened, and I will just blame creepy virgin idiots for that.
Yeah.
So you can basically assume what I'm talking about. But
Yeah.
I mean, this is a shyness. You know, they know that they're going to be on camera, so they bring a sign, just hold it up in front of your face. You know, some people just they don't want to be
I
on,
just thought it was
on
a
a
cool
live
experience
broadcast.
when I
In
saw
China,
that.
it's actually so different. Actually, I noticed that when I was there for APAC premiere, is that the cameras on them, they just didn't shy away at all. They just eyeballed the camera. I was like, holy shit, what the fuck? Crazy.
There's
Hey,
been some
Seth,
legendary
thanks
moments.
for
But,
yeah, I've seen a little bit of more brazenness out there, but it's just, they are loud bands. When you get the camera off them, they are bloody loud.
Oh,
The pre-game
100%.
chants give me shivers, dude. It's actually mental. The casters don't even have to hype up the crowd; they just do it. I love that. Seth, man, thanks for coming on board, and good luck at ridiculous hours. By the way, covering Masters. I don't know what time it's going to be for you guys, but yeah, that sounds brutal.
I think it's going to be. I think we start at midnight, and then 3 best of 3s a day.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting to get done probably at about 10 in the morning. So you know, In advance, I already bought a case of Red Bull. Apparently, they're sending me some as well. I'm just gonna get an IV drip off camera and just put that shit straight into my veins.
So you could buy some, by the way. There's a product called like IV water or something like that. Smix was talking about it with us when we're
Yeah, it sounds like an Orange County invention, to be honest.
most likely, because you buy it in pouches, you mix it with your water, and then it actually gives you the energy. And somehow Smix is sold on to that. So check that out. But it'll just be into your hours of playing World of Warcraft anyway, so it's not too bad. You'll still be awake.
Very true.
Man's gonna be busy. All right, Seth. Hey, thanks for joining us, man, and good luck on the show. It's great to get some insights from you, dude.
Thanks for having me back. See you next
brother.
time.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. All right. Yeah, so I think that's interesting, shining a little bit of light on the Korean scene, considering that I think some expectations get kind of turned on their head after, Vision Strikers don't end up being the team that was promised, right?
Yeah.
I really kind of wondered how. To be fair, that was really reasonable from Seth. There was no mental gymnastics or any backflipping there. He was pretty frank about South Korea's chances.
Actually, at the same time, the last time he came on the show, he was flashing a Vision Strikers jersey. I thought he was going to flash a NuTurn jersey this time.
We couldn't get one shipped in time, I guess. It was, but I no doubt we'll see it from him at some point. That's one thing I'm like really looking forward to on Masters is like, because we've got casters from so many different regions. I want to see that hard bias, man. I don't want to see people going like, I'm not going to be sat there. If we get like Sentinels Fnatic, I'm not going to be like, I like both of these teams. I'll be like, fuck you, Sentinels. Let's go. I'm here for Fnatic.
You're imitating Van Celia right now.
Yeah.
That's it. They have fun at the end of the day.
Yeah, I just want a good game.
It's all about the friends you make.
I hope everyone enjoys the game. It's like, we're all friends here.
I'm just a fan of the game. We all want to see it. Yeah, you know what? I can't be mean. What can I say? But yeah, okay, fine. I'll try to switch that a bit.
Yeah, we get some passion, all right? At least someone from NA. Y'all are so soft, in NA. You don't even have faith in your own damn team. It's an absolute travesty.